Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? I'm broadcasting live again from my home, the parsonage here, in my living room today. I was in the dining room last night. Gonna kind of give it a minute or two, see how many people pop in here. But tonight we're gonna be taking a look at Luke chapter 20, verses 45 to 47, and when you look at the title there, I'll be reading from the NIV version. If you look at the title of that scripture, and even in Jesus's words, it talks about he's talking about Jesus warning the teachers of the law. So if we start start with verse 45 here, it says, "While all the people were listening, Jesus said to his disciples, 'Beware of the teachers of the law. They like to walk around in flowing robes and love to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces and have the most important seats in the synagogues and the places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses and for a show make lengthy prayers. These men will be punished severely.'" Hey Bob, how you doing? So when we take a look here, obviously Jesus is talking about, he's talking to his disciples and he's teaching them, and he's telling them to beware the teachers of the law. And he starts by talking about how they love to wear their flowing robes and to have all the honored seats out in the banquets and the synagogue, and how they like to be greeted in the marketplaces. They like all the attention. They like all the trappings that come with being a teacher of the law. They love the recognition and sometimes the pride that comes with it. They get to be very proud, and Jesus is warning them because he doesn't. It's as much a message for Jesus' disciples as a warning about the teachers, and a message for us too. He starts talking about. He wants us to be careful of pride and why we do things, I think. And he doesn't want us to be the same thing. He wants us to do good, but to do good for good's sake. Do good for the reason of good. And so, hey Chloe, how are you? But so he's wanting us to make sure we're doing good for the right reasons. It's real easy. We all like to, when we do something good, we all like to get that pat on the back, or to have people tell us, hey, that's a great job that you did, because it feels good. It really does. But what we have to watch for is, if we fall into that trap, we could start kind of seeking ways to get that praise, instead of seeking ways to just do good. We'll do good for the wrong reasons. So we get proud and we start to think a little more highly of ourselves. And God wants us to be more humble. And when I talk about being humble, I don't mean talking or putting ourselves down, telling us, oh, you're not such a good person, so-and-so is better, or anything like that. Because, oh, sorry about that. We're great people, we're sons and children and daughters of God, so he loves us, and so there's nothing bad about us. But being humble means thinking less about ourselves and more about others. And I think that's what Jesus is getting at here. He wants all of us to think highly of ourselves, but to think more about other people, to go out and do good for the sake of doing good, and not to go out and get it for the praise and the pats on the back or any kind of recognition like that. We shouldn't be thinking about that at all. And we all do, to some extent. I mean, everybody, like I said, likes to get that kind of recognition. But for the people, the teachers of the law, especially that day, a lot of them back then and a lot of them today, kind of fall into that trap. They love the praise, and they love to be honored and respected, and that's what they strove for, and that was their goal. And that's wrong. That shouldn't be our goal. Our goal should be, going out and helping those who need help, making disciples for Jesus, in that, and not trying to earn praise or respect for ourselves. Hey, Jason, how you doing? So that's the first thing that he was talking about, and then he goes right back into talking about how the teachers of the law would devour widows' houses, and we talked about this a little bit last night too. And this again is where, back in the day, a rabbi wasn't paid. Okay, they were expected to have a job to support themselves, and then they would be a rabbi kind of on the side. Now, that's true of a lot of preachers today too, but some of us, well, thankfully, do get paid for doing this. But back then, they weren't supposed to be paid, but they put in kind of some laws or some rules in there, or sayings that would tell people how blessed that they would be if they were supporting a rabbi or a teacher. So the rabbis began working towards that, trying to get all the free gifts and everything. And because, a lot of them were proud and like that respect, like, we just talked about. So a lot of them here were put take advantage of people who didn't have the money to help support them. They would tell the poor and the widows, and the widows was the kind of representative of the poor people, and they would tell the poor, hey, you're going to be blessed if you help support a rabbi. So the poor would often give money they couldn't really afford to give, and Jesus was furious at this. We talked last night, and it's just this, it's the same thing here tonight. Jesus did not like people taking advantage of the poor. He stood up for them. He's a big advocate for the poor. And you read that throughout the whole Bible, not just in these few verses here. And even if you skip ahead to the beginning of chapter 1, or chapter 21, we didn't read that tonight, but Jesus is talking about, and he's praising the poor widow who came up and put her 2 copper coins into the temple offering plate, in praising her for giving all that she had. He's very much pro poor. He wants us to take care of the poor, and if we don't, if we're seen as being proud and taking advantage of the poor, what does Jesus say here? He says these men will be punished most severely. So we're warned, don't take advantage of the poor. Give what you can, do what you can to help, but do it for the right reasons. Don't do it for the pat on the back. Don't do it to build up your pride or be proudful or anything like that. So it's good to watch out for that, and always kind of, I talk about you doing like a self-examination. Look at yourself from time to time at the end of the day, evaluate how your day went and what you did, and examine, why, you did something today. Why did you do it? Was it did you do it truly to help somebody? Or if you're honest with yourself, did you do it to get some praise and some recognition? So doing a self-examination at the end of the day or at the end of the week is a pretty good thing to do. The other thing that I got out of this, Jesus said in there, he says, they make a show of lengthy prayers. And Jesus talked about this on the Sermon on the Mount too, that a lot of the teachers of the law would pray out loud and using big words and speaking long, so thinking God would hear their prayers because of that. And when truly what they were doing was to kind of build up their ego. They were trying to make themselves look good. And Jesus said, they have their reward right there. And it's kind of a problem. It's something that I kind of think of when I have to write a prayer, because I have to do a lot of public prayers in my line of work. And it's good to be eloquent, to use good sounding words and being thoughtful as you put your prayer together. But you also have to remember that the prayer is not supposed to be a performance. When I do a prayer, and I often have to remind myself, because I do want my prayers to sound good, but the most important thing is that the prayer is to God, and it's to be written in a way that doesn't just benefit myself, but benefits the people that I am praying with and praying for. So when you make a prayer, and I know it's, praying in public is hard for a lot of people, but when you do it, you have to try and keep in mind also that we're praying to God, and it's not to be a performance. I'm not trying to impress the people that I'm praying for, or if I am doing it, I'm doing it for all the wrong reasons. So kind of out of this 3 verses here that we looked at, it's all about putting God and other people first, checking your pride, making sure you're doing things for the right reason, helping people who need help, and just making sure that you're not taking advantage of people, because if you are taking advantage of the poor, I got news for you. It's written right there. You're going to be punished pretty severely. So that's what I got out of those 3 verses there. I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments that you'd like to have. Hi, Dixie. Good to see you. Jenny, how are you doing? Sorry, I couldn't necessarily see everybody that's in there. There's Connie. How is everybody doing tonight? Yeah, without my glasses, it's kind of hard to see everyone popping in there, but I'm glad you all joined me. I'm going to do this every night this week through Holy Week. And then I think I'm going to start doing it once a week, probably like on a Wednesday night. And maybe we'll find a way to archive these. Bob's doing really good about getting videos put up on our new YouTube channel. So I messed up, Bob. I'm sorry, I didn't have the YouTube channel address. Maybe I'll put it in the comments here later. When we get that up, I want everyone to go to YouTube, kind of click on that and subscribe to it. And then we'll archive the sermons there, and we'll put maybe these podcasts in there too. I think there's a way we can do that. Yeah, thank you, Bob. Bob's the brains behind putting all this stuff on the internet, so he's been very helpful. And that kind of reminds me too, we're still looking for some help. We want to put together a multimedia team for people, if you want to take pictures at events, to helping with audio, visual, to helping with all the social media, and helping to upgrade our webpage. If you have any kind of interest, Tom, where have you been? We were talking about you the other day. Good to see you. But if you have any kind of talent, or you feel called as a way to serve there, we plan on expanding. That's kind of been the one of the good things about this being quarantined and finding new ways to do worship and fellowship, is we're looking more into going online and everything. So we need people who've got time. We need people who've got the talent and the desire to do this kind of stuff. I'm vaguely familiar with all the social media stuff. But if you know anybody who would be interested in it, pass this, on to them. I've asked a couple people, but no good responses yet. But I keep praying that somebody's going to step up and help us out with this. So, but thanks. It was great to have everybody here today. It looks like we had a pretty good crowd. It's pretty awesome. Tomorrow I'll be back. I'll broadcast again from the parsonage here at 8 o'clock. And tomorrow we're going to talk about Luke chapter 22, verses 1 through 6. So if you want to read that over, or if you just want to pop on tomorrow night, we'll be here, same bat time, same bat channel. So, but thanks for everyone for popping in tonight, and we'll see you all again tomorrow night. Okay? Thank you.